I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan for work, a national fisheries conference. But there's a fairly well-known YouTuber around here who also has his own fishing lure company, and I've really wanted to sit down with him and talk about his lures that I've been field testing for 2 years now. Today we're talking shop, sharing our experiences as anglers as well as YouTubers.
Some of these random conversations need to end up on the internet too, because like it's super, well, if you want to.
We were planning on putting some of this in, but we'll put some of this in. And if you are a multi-species angler and you don't know yet about the mule fishing jigs and plastics, then I suggest you stick around. We're gonna have a good time chatting, plus there's a good story or two near the end. What's up everyone, Koaw here of KNFS, where we anglers are always learning and sharing knowledge about fishing and fishes. And today I have a special guest. This is Ethan of Fish Anything. Say a few words.
Hello, as he mentioned, my name is Ethan. I'm here on YouTube, running the Fish Anything YouTube channel, and I love ultralight fishing and I love multi-species. And that's why I like his channel, because he teaches me a ton about not only the fishing aspect, but really the science behind it. And that's one thing that I feel is a gap of knowledge for me. And so that's why I kind of enjoy this guy's channel.
And so Ethan here also has his own fishing company. It's Mule Fishing, right?
Yes.
And so there's two things I want to talk about today, really. I want to do a Q&A with Ethan, kind of talk about, because he's a bigger YouTuber than me. You probably already know. I want to know kind of how he does it, his thoughts on it, but also I want to tell you my thoughts on his lures, because I have field tested them thoroughly now for 2 years, and I really feel there's some things you should know. So first and foremost, I have to say that Ethan here is not paying me anything. I'm not getting any promotional benefit out of this video. I'm simply going to be talking on his lures out of honesty and what I feel you guys should know.
Thank you.
There's that. Okay. All right, first question.
Yes.
What or who got you into fishing?
So it's kind of a couple things. One, I think I really got myself into fishing, but I was exposed to fishing early from a couple family members. So my uncle definitely exposed me to fishing, and then I had a bunch of friends. When I started driving in high school and we started going out and doing stuff, you know, we hit a lot of farm ponds. I'm from Kansas originally. Okay. So hitting farm ponds, throwing a rooster tail, immediately I caught the bug, and then I taught myself as much as I possibly could. And most of that was through Bassmaster magazine or reading stuff online or watching really, really early days of YouTube, because I'm 30, so high school for me, I mean, that would have been like early on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm up there too.
Yeah, but that's how I got into fishing. And I guess we all can probably relate to the fact that once you kind of feel that tug for the first time and really get after it, it becomes addicting very quickly.
Right on. And I'll probably be shooting a bunch of B-reel of his donkey tails and donkey tail juniors in the background, because I have 2 years worth of footage on this.
I've got a lot of footage myself.
I imagine. All right, so here's a harder question. How hard do you find it to devote time to your family and your full-time job while you go out and produce these videos and you fish?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that's one that I think we don't always talk about, I think, on YouTube, because sometimes I feel like as viewers, we see someone's channel and we kind of think that like their life is their YouTube channel, but that's not necessarily the case. So for me, I've got a family, I've got a young kiddo, and he's amazing. I've got a wonderful wife, I've got a full-time job, and then I've got Mule and the YouTube channel, and let alone some other things as well. It gets to be a lot, but I would say like the way you balance it is you have to really balance it according to kind of what that roller coaster of a schedule looks like. So when you get times to fish, you go fish. When you don't have a lot of time, you don't sweat it too much. And for me, I've got a really supportive wife that recognizes how important fishing is to me, that she always wants to make sure that I have time to do that, because I can bring my full self to my family when I'm out there committing time to something that I love. But the other thing is, I think a lot of times people they're like, well, how do you have so much time? It's like, I don't necessarily have time, I just allocate my time that way. So some people like to sit and, you know, watch Netflix for 4 hours at night. You know, I do that sometimes, but for the most part, it's like, if I have time, I'm gonna go work, you know. And for me, I wake up every morning at 4:30 in the morning. I spend my first couple hours of the day working hard, and that's just kind of how I'm wired.
I'm the same way. I like to be productive.
Yes,
yeah, I'm that way.
I think I would go crazy if I wasn't doing something, and that's just kind of how I've always been as a kid. I always got super bored super easily. My mom would tell you that I drove her nuts. So now it's like I have my outlets and I work hard on my outlets.
Right on. Good.
It's not for everyone. Do you
right.
have one camera or two?
I had 3, and
Are they at the bottom of a lake? I had a feeling based on your facial expression. I was like, yeah.
One I was muskie fishing.
Oh no.
And my uncle got a huge muskie on.
Did you want to do an underwater
We
release?
landed it, and well, what happened is I put it on a Chinese mount.
Yeah.
And the mount snapped.
Yeah. The official mounts are so much better.
Oh,
and
yeah,
sometimes
that's the official one now. But I put on the safety
mount,
one.
If you get a cheap fake chest mount, it's really creaky and you'll hear it the whole time. I did that. I made that mistake, and I fished with it for like probably a year. And then I finally splurged and spent the $40 or whatever.
Yeah.
Got the GoPro one, and it immediately, my audio was so much better. I'm like, I should have done that.
Yeah, no, I learned that lesson too. Don't go cheap on the actual GoPro gear part. All right, so I field tested your donkey tail juniors and your donkey tails, but you have other lures.
Yes.
Correct? So I can't speak on those too much because I haven't tested those, but I'm gonna try them in the future. I will.
Yeah.
But I want you to tell me why the donkey tail the way it is, and I will show an image right now of it on the screen. They're looking at it.
Yeah. So the donkey tail was the first plastic that Mule launched, and then, as you mentioned, I've kind of rounded out the system to an extent, and I'm going to continue to build it out. And the ultimate goal with mule fishing is always light line multi-species. It's always all about catching more than just one species. I feel like the industry is very species specific now. It's very technique specific. So there's companies out there launching a worm that is specifically for the drop shot, specifically in summer, specifically for smallmouth bass. That's great. That's cool. But for me, I feel like that is very intimidating for anglers. And so for me, I wanted something that was more like, you can go out, you can fish, you never really know what you're gonna catch. Sure, you might target bluegill, but you're probably gonna catch crappie, you're probably gonna catch bass, so on and so forth. So with the donkey tail, I wanted to start with something that was very, very versatile in how you fish it. It has the boot tail, so you can just steady swim that type of bait. But to me, I wanted it to have kind of that boot tail, but also the profile to where you can just drift it, you can just drop it down into little nooks and crannies, and it's gonna have action, but it's not gonna be like over the top. And I feel like I really, even though it kind of looks a little goofy in a way, and I like that, I feel like the profile is exactly what I was looking for, to where it's really attracting bites from all types of fish. And along the way, there's been some really good quality mixed in. Ultimately, I went with like a 1.6 inch length on the donkey tail junior and a 2.8 inch length on the donkey tail, and that was very intentional. The 1.6 was something where I wanted it to be able to kind of stretch the quality of fish you catch when it comes to stuff like sunfish, to where you're getting some of those bigger bites, but it's still approachable. So you're still able to catch a good quantity of fish. And I felt like it really does imitate kind of what they actually would feed on in the wild. The 2.8 inch length is a little bit more going after like the bass.
Trout. I mean, I love that for bass.
Yeah,
It slays them, and even I've got walleye on them.
Trout.
Big pike.
Yeah.
Even it's only 2.8, but it's attracting big fish.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, I think sometimes people think like there's always that kind of conception. It's like big bait, big fish, and yeah, that certainly can be true at times of the year and with certain bodies of water and certain fish. But sometimes, elephants eat peanuts, and like if you give a fish a super easy meal, they'll eat it too. I mean, I've caught 30+ inch pike on 1 inch baits. Like it happens. It's not that, it's not necessarily their main forage, but if you put it in front of their face, they're opportunistic and they'll eat it. So it's fun.
Speaking on the versatility, I've just like, he didn't even have to say that before. After testing it, the versatility of these donkey tails is amazing. It's easy. I remember one time I was in Maryland, I posted up on this bridge near the swamp, and I just sat under this bridge, and I just caught species after species after species, and I didn't even change my line, change the lure. And that's all right. So that's the next thing I want to talk about on the donkey tails that just impressed me, and I love it. And actually, it might not be so good for your business model. They are so durable. These plastics, you can stretch them like crazy. I've had them take pike teeth, perch teeth, walleye teeth, and they last. So I'm very impressed with that, and I like that.
There's a dog looking at me right now, so I had to smile at him.
But
well, I appreciate those words, and I got to say, ultimately with Mule, it's not necessarily about selling you that next bag of plastics. It's really about making sure that when you buy something, it goes further, and it gives you what you need to catch a ton of fish. So as you mentioned, I would have never launched plastics had I not had the ability to do something a little bit different. And for me, when I launched the Donkey Tails and Donkey Tail Juniors, there was really no one doing super high durability, high stretch material plastics that were built for multi-species and light line anglers. So the panfish anglers really just did not have options. So they had traditional plastisol baits, and those are fine. Those will catch fish. However, as we know with bluegill and a lot of the other smaller fish, they love to go like this and rip really hard, and so you're left with you know, a shredded plastic. I wanted something that was going to last really long, to where you can go out there and catch 100 fish and not have to re-rig every 5 minutes, because I feel like that saves you time on the water, which ultimately allows you to fish longer, which ultimately allows you to catch more fish. And that resonates with me because, as we kind of mentioned, I have a pretty busy life, and so like a lot of times my fishing trips are maybe anywhere from an hour to maybe 4 hours. And so if I'm out there for 2 hours and half the time I'm spending re-rigging, then I wasted a lot of time that day. So I wanted something that works hard for me the entire time.
And speaking on that too, your jigs have bait keepers on them. So the Donkey Tails, they tuck up right and nicely on those bait keepers. Like you said, it saves time. It's a convenience. I remember talking about EPFs. The action on EPFs is great. It's amazing. But I'm not going to go back and buy more EPFs simply because I get the same result from the Donkey Tails, and now I don't have to switch off. The EPFs rip like crazy.
His words, not mine. Lots of great companies out there, and I'm never going to dog any of them. I do things with Mule the way that I would want them done, but there's so many other great companies out there too, and I very much admire lots of the other
Indeed.
options.
I'm not dogging the EPFs. I still say, I'll say it a little bit, I think their action is a little bit better than on the Donkey Tail. That's just, I got to be honest on that part. But like I said, there's no reason for me to go buy more when I'm getting a greater efficiency without having to change lures and get the same fish, right?
It's always fun to try different things, and so ultimately, you know, you can try the Mule ones, you can try the other ones out there, and you can decide for yourself. I like to think that the Mule ones are going to do extremely well for you. I'm happy to hear they've done well for you, but hey, that's the fun in fishing. You can always try something new.
So I mean, you've seen my Lepimus guides. Once I discovered his lures, a lot of those fish you're seeing in those guides were caught with those, because I needed to save time when I'm working and sampling. And sometimes netting is not an option. I put on those Mule Fishing Lures.
There you go.
Guaranteeing a fish. Like I said though, you made your lures too damn durable. I still have bags of plastics.
I fished some of the stuff that were from the very first release.
The only things that I found that I run out of jigs more because I wear, you know, I hook a lot of
people snag, and that's why they re-up. And that people tell me that it's like I would never have to order again if I didn't snag. And I was like, well, that's kind of fishing.
Thank goodness for snags.
That's good though. I mean, I know it's not about people buying $1,000 worth of gear. It's about helping people. And I trust there's enough dang fishermen out there that I don't necessarily need to hit the same person 100 times. It's more a matter of like, really help this person, and they're probably going to tuck their buddies. And there's endless amount of fishermen. So.
A good product sells itself, right?
I would like to think so.
You're a marketing major. That's like a common expression there, right?
Yes, my focus is always, it's very much focused on making the product and the branding the way I want it. It's not a matter of like going out there and pushing something on someone. Like if I make it, to me, I make all my products for myself and my own fishing needs. And I know what I want. And sure, I get outside influence to an extent from other buddies and trusted people that fish a lot. And then stuff like the work that you do, quite honestly, like a lot of the stuff that lives in the Mule portfolio is because of science. Like it's like I hear things, I read things, and I'm like, well, then I need to have an insect larva profile, and that's where like the horsefly was born. It's like a similar size to the Donkey Tail Junior, but it's an insect larva, and it's like, well, that's because so much of what the Lepimus eat is insect larvae. It's not minnows. I mean, not to say that they don't. They're opportunistic, but like insect larvae and more like the little tiny things. That's going to be kind of what they focus on. So.
Yeah, most of them don't get to that piscivorous fish eating stage till later adulthood. Some of them won't even get into that.
I was gonna say that some of them probably don't actually ever hardly eat minnows.
They'll do larval. They'll feed on larval fish.
Yeah, so many of it. It's like what is it like all the? It's like the large. What do you call them? Just like the phytoplankton type stuff. It's just like the larger
Oh yeah, there's phytoplankton, which are plant-based, and then there's zooplankton, which are like the little crustaceans floating around.
And then there's just
And
like
then
the insect
Yeah,
larvae.
you call those just macroinvertebrates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so they're just the...
Like a dragonfly and its, larva stage.
Yeah,
and all those different random crap.
We've been cutting open a lot of crappie stomachs this year.
They eat a lot of that too.
And what happens is they get to chironomid larvae, which are like fly-like things, but their larvae just look like kind of worms with big heads. So it's a good profile. But then once you get up to a certain crappie size, they immediately switch over to gizzard shad.
Yeah.
Like about that big.
Yeah.
Just if you want to know that.
Oh no, so I've got this is the Mule Minnow. This is a 1.2. So like really a tiny just minnow profile, but there's a 2.2 and then there's a 3.2. So 1.2 inches, 2.2 inches, 3.2 inches. The 2.2 is my go-to crappie bait. Like I use that, I shoot it under docks.
Yeah.
I just drift it down, and like a 2-inch minnow type profile, it feels like crappie, like especially some of those larger ones, they just hammer it. And but then like during the winter when I'm ice fishing, it's like all insect larva profile, like, and like you get it off of like the weed beds and stuff, and it's like those crappie when they seem to move a lot, like they'll move through and then they like hammer a bunch of crappie, but they're all on like little 1 to 1 inch, 1 to 1.5 inch like larva type stuff. So I don't know if it's like a seasonal thing to an extent, or if it's like a size thing. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably seasonal, definitely, and size related, but like during the winter they're probably pretty honed in on some of those larvae, I imagine, but who knows.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's seasonal what they're gonna do, because they're gonna match hatches of insects.
Yeah.
If there's a big hatch, they're gonna be all over it.
That's the stuff. I don't know anything about insects, man. Like that's what I need to learn more about, because I feel like I'll definitely hone in on my fishing skills.
There's a lot of insects out there.
I know, it's very intimidating. They all have weird names.
I mean, my suggestion is, if you harvest your catches at all?
I hardly ever do, except for crappie. I love eating crappie.
Okay.
But I do need to cut open their stomachs. I think
Whenever
it's super
you
fascinating.
catch a fish and you're gonna harvest it, also cut open the stomach and look at it. Look at what they're eating, and that'll help determine what they're eating.
Some of these random conversations need to end up on the internet too, because like it's super. Well, if you want to.
We were planning on putting some of this in, but we'll put some of this in.
I'm telling you though, like it's a cool idea of if you harvest your fish, or if you just decide I don't really harvest my fish very often, but now I'm going to, like from time to time, just to learn. Like cutting open the stomach, that's a thing that I've been wanting to do, like especially with like juvenile bass. It's just to better understand, like what are they truly eating. We've got a lot of lakes around here that are super overpopulated with small bluegill. Yeah. Like it's sad, it hasn't been managed properly, and so unfortunately we've just got these situations where we're just choked out with small bluegill. And I'm so curious when I find times where there's just tons of small bass too, like what are they actually eating? How many of these bluegill are they eating? Are they eating other things? I'm just curious, and I feel like to learn that you kind of have to cut open a stomach.
Yeah,
So.
indeed. In those stunted populations, they're kind of disappointing to fish, and they're hard to manage because there's only so many fisheries managers.
I feel like it's like you can almost like not correct it unless there's a major fish kill.
Yeah.
Like how do you correct it?
There are a number of methods, but that's one way of fish. Most fishery managers are going to go in there and they're going to say, okay, we're going to go poison the shoreline.
Got it.
You want to just wipe out much.
You want to create a fish kill.
And I talked about this in my last video on bass, but with these stunning events, as anglers, it's up to us not to harvest it. With the bluegill, don't harvest those big parental males.
Correct.
You need to leave those guys in most populations, because bluegills have different reproductive strategies, and so these, when the little parental males, they're waiting to reproduce, and if those big guys suddenly get harvested, those little guys say, hey, I don't have to grow big anymore, and I can still reproduce. Then you get more of these little guys.
Correct.
And it's just,
I have a series called The Pursuit of a 10, and the whole premise behind it was to go out there and try to catch a 10-inch bluegill. And
did you get one yet?
I did get one.
Good.
So it's in the finale, and it literally was a whole day of fishing, tons of 8s and 9s and 9.5s, and like the whole time. And then at the very end, I caught a 10 1/4 inch, and I think it was actually a female, which was bonkers. Female? Yes, it was massive. But anyways, in that series, I actually interviewed with a couple of fisheries biologists in your line of work, and they said the exact same thing. It's like they have such an interesting reproduction dynamic in the sense that those big males are so important to a system because of all those smaller males that almost, they look like a little female, but they're actually sneaking in there and they're reproducing and they're taking that spot. And if you're pulling those big males off beds during the spawn and you're keeping them, you are hurting the future generation of that body of water. And it's like, it's so interesting.
At least the fishing quality.
Yeah.
Because for them,
it's all what you want.
Their population's going to persist no matter what.
No, the bluegill will be happy.
Yeah, we want bigger fish. The bluegill will be like, whatever.
I'm good. I've got 500,000 of us and we're all an inch long.
Yeah.
Great. Anyways, we're off topic.
Yeah,
some other questions.
Right. Where's the next question here?
One thing you'll never get with me is a shortage of footage.
Yeah, this guy can talk.
The more coffee you pour down my throat, the more you're gonna get to it.
Okay, so what do you feel so far your biggest contribution to the fishing community has been?
That is a difficult question to answer because it feels very egotistical to answer it. But I guess for me, the thing I would be most proud of is really just mule fishing and the fact that I have created a company that really caters to like the light line multi-species guys. I just feel like it's kind of an ignored segment of the fishing market. And it hasn't always been that way. At one point in time, I feel like it was very common for like early stage fishing companies, like talking like 20, 30 years ago, they were very multi-species focused. And I feel like, you know, that's when like stuff like, it was even further back, stuff like Johnson beetle spin and some of those like early on, like the cream lures, like those things that were really focused on just catching fish and making things simple. But those things have become less popular over time with regards to the industry. And I guess I'm just proud of the fact that I've taken a more simplified approach of just going out there and catching fish, making things less intimidating, and helping anglers just have fun on the water, because that's what it's all about.
I like that. Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what I'm happy about. I feel like I've got a long ways to go, and I've still got a ton to learn. So,
I think it's not just the company, the fishing company. It's the YouTube that you make, the videos. I think you inspire people to get out there and go fishing, and that's so important because you know when there's maybe a kid out there fishing, it might be because he's out there, he saw your video, and he's trying out something that you said. So I think you have a positive impact on the fishing community, and so I hope you continue that for years to come.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'd say some of those comments, I mean, when people say that a lot of times what I get is I'll have someone tell me that they fished as a kid, they kind of got busy, life happened, they kind of forgot about it, and then they kind of they got back into it as an adult, and my channel has helped them kind of rediscover kind of their love for fishing. And then what's even better is when they say like, hey, I'm sharing it with my kids, or you know, someone in the neighborhood, or a friend or a brother or whatever. I love to hear someone is sharing fishing with someone, because like, to me, what I love is this. I love nature. I love, whether you like fishing or not, I love the outdoors. I love our environment. And you obviously have a massive respect for it. It's very clear to see. And to me, it's like, if we can create an interest in our sport, then we create a greater appreciation for all this, to where everyone's gonna hopefully take better care of all this.
Yeah, I got the same mindset when I approach this. Is like the KNFS channel, we're about responsible fishing. So it's about not just enjoying the sport, but, you know, not abusing the fish.
Having a positive impact.
Ensuring that everyone has a fair chance at fishing. So yeah, it's about respecting all of the nature. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got one more question for you.
Sweet.
Oh, all right. What's your goal for the future? In regards to mule fishing and the channel.
You know, I would say my goal is it's more like internal serving. It's like, how can I create content that I'm super proud of and make a company that I'm super proud of. So I don't necessarily have like a specific like, oh, I want to work for myself, or oh, I want to make this much money, or anything like, oh, I need this many subscribers. It's not really anything like that. It's more like content focused. So like what I want to see is like, I guess I should make this more of a SMART goal, like really specify it. But for me, it's like, I want to see my channel and say, wow, that is a really good multi-species fisherman. That is someone that you can tell him to go to a body of water that's new, and you can tell him there's 10 different species of fish in there, and he knows how to catch all of those. That's like where I want to go. I want to be able to know how to catch the bullhead, know how to catch the yellow perch, know how to pattern the crappie, know how to go out there and smash the river bass. Like, whatever species is out there in a system, I want to understand it from your side of things, from scientifically, and kind of like what purpose they serve in their ecosystem. But I also want to understand what makes them tick and how to catch them. So I'm a long ways away from that. Like I know a pretty good bit about like bluegill and sunfish. I'm pretty darn decent at bass fishing, I feel like. I can hold my own in some other areas, but there's still so many fish that I don't know anything about. And like, that's what keeps me super excited. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, I study fish every day. I'm around fish every day. I fish a lot, and there are still many questions and techniques that I need to discover, that I need to learn. And which is why I appreciate the comments I get on the videos down below, watching channels like Ethan's here. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's always changing too. Like no matter what you learn, like something else is gonna change. The environment will change. Like the river system specifically, anything with current, it's only gonna change. Like it's very exciting.
I agree with that, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the questions, man.
Yeah, I'd appreciate you being here. So all right, so let's talk on the donkey tails one more time here. I first want to say the only negative thing that I found about the donkey tails is that the white packaging ones, when I was fishing in Virginia and Tannic waters, they would stain very easily. But this I know is just something to do with the synthetic polymers, and if the durability, there's no way I'd want the durability to get lost. A little staining, that's no problem for me to sacrifice a little bit of that white bread.
Yeah, use the black one, and it won't stain at all.
There you go. All right, use the black. Well, the black ones are good too. I also want to talk about how to playing the lures. Like you can speak a bit more on that, but I found they're so buoyant, and it's so cool because if you pair them up with the right size jig head, you can get the sink you want, and then they level out nicely, and you can play it that way. And so on drifts, I found that I had to slow down a lot though, unless I had a heavy jig, because they wouldn't sink as much. But just understand that these lures have that buoyancy is pretty high. Did you design it that way? You wanted it that way?
I absolutely wanted a buoyant plastic. I wanted something that would stand up on the bottom for any time you're fishing, you know, the bottom for bass or whatever that may be. But I also think like a really slow rate of fall, especially for crappie, for sunfish, is incredible. Like I think that's why I have a 1/80th ounce, a 1/64th ounce jig, is because like a slow rate of fall for a species that tends to sit suspended in the water column and look up and feed up.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sinking past them too quick, they're probably more likely not gonna swim down to get it, whereas they will look up and eat it. So like I wanted something buoyant to where it had a nice slow fall, but it also creates a lot different, better action. So yeah.
I just understand that's how you got to play it and understand it, and if you figure out the techniques with it, it's just wonderful. I know a lot of guys aren't used to that buoyancy right off the bat, so just keep that in mind. Secondly, I love your 1/80th jig, and I was micro fishing, but what I would have to do is your donkey tail junior is just a little too big, so I'd end up having to chop that up or put some on. So what I want to see is you maybe go into a micro line with like a donkey tail junior or something. Just food for thought for you.
I think it's really great feedback, just to be clear, and I've thought about this a lot. So I definitely agree there's a place for the micro stuff. I think it's funny too, because there's a lot of people that would say a 1.6 inch swim bait is plenty micro for me. So I think it's a balance, but like I do have a Mule Minnow 1.2, which is a 1.2 inch plastic, and I still think there's some room there. So I think it's tremendous feedback, and mule fishing is going to continue to offer new things. So just trust me when I tell you that there's more to come in the future.
Good. And FYI, I've already put it on here, but I'm going to put all the links to his channel, Mule Fishing, where to get the lures down below. Again, this isn't paid promotion at all. I'm doing this because I want to share this with you. I've had such great success with this, with the donkey tail and the donkey tail junior, that I'm sharing it with you. And I want to share a funny story with you. I was in Wisconsin fishing, and I introduced these lures to my father, and he's more of a bass fisherman rather than the small. So I was like, take the donkey tail. That's the 2.8 inch, right?
Yep.
And I took the biggest jig. What size is that one?
3/32.
Yeah. So I got the 3/32, pairing it with the donkey tail. He's fishing. He's catching bass left and right. He's loving it. We're in the boat. He catches a bass. He's bringing it in. He sets his pole over the line with the donkey tail just hanging in like 2 inches.
Oh boy.
While he's undoing the largemouth, a smallmouth hits the lure he's not even casting.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I got it on video, so I think I can show it right now.
That's incredible.
This is no So he caught a fish while he was untangling fish, not even casting. I think you ran into your fish ran into my lure. It's just hanging. Your donkey tail was hanging over after the 19-incher, and now you have another fish.
Yeah. This is crazy. Check the rod up, right?
Oh, and it's not a small fish either.
It's a smallie.
It's a smallie.
You're right, it's a small fish either. That's crazy. That's a great story.
You just caught a...
Without a cast.
Without a cast.
It's funny, you know, I had a similar thing happen to me. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it was earlier this year, like early summer. Like crappie were kind of still spawning a little bit, and I caught a nice crappie, and I'm like showing it off, and like I put my mule minnow, which is another bait that I offer, back in the water. It's hanging over the front of my kayak, maybe a couple feet. I release this crappie, I'm dinking around. All of a sudden my rod bends over, catch another one about the same size. I'm like, is that the same fish? I never knew, like there was no way of proving whether it was the same fish, but literally I released this fish, I caught another one about the same size right away, and like, I still don't know. Was it the same fish? Was it its twin brother? I don't know.
Hey, they're good lures, man.
I guess, or we're just lucky.
No, I as a scientist, I mean, I said I field tested your lures like crazy, and so
Science proven. Let's go.
Science proven. There you go. So I mean, that's about all the questions I have right now. I think I've shared my thoughts on your lures. I'm glad that you answered the questions. I'm glad you were able to meet me, because I'm here right now for a AFS conference, American Fisheries Society conference, and I knew he was nearby, and I was going to collaborate with him two years ago, but some life things came up for us, so we just couldn't make that happen. So I'm really glad we were able to do it this time.
Yeah, man. I wish I had more time to spend with you, because I'd love to get out and explore the area and fish, but I'm happy to see that you've gotten the opportunity to explore it a little bit outside of just work and see the local waters. I mean, you already caught some sunfish this morning, so that's wonderful. I
already caught some bluegills while I was waiting for you.
That's amazing.
With the Donkey Tail Junior.
Let's go. No, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to fish. I'm happy that you get to see it, and hopefully we'll get back and fish together a little bit more in the future. You're not too far away, so I trust we can make something happen.
I believe so.
Yeah, right on.
So I appreciate it, and yeah, fish responsibly and good luck.
Cool, man. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was good.